the floodlit exterior of the Sydney Opera House and the Harbour Bridge, both dimmed at 8:30 in the evening local time as the Australian city marked the start of its participation in the second worldwide WWF Earth Hour. 4,000 cities, including New Zealand's largest, Auckland, joined in the coordinated switch-off, time zone by time zone, as the environmental campaigning organisation made a bid to change policy on a global scale. China switched off its Olympic Bird's Nest Stadium, joining an estimated 88 countries planning to dim non-essential lights for 1 hour.
In each of these countries, they're turning off their lights for just 1 hour, and some of the most iconic landmarks in the world, from Sydney Harbour Bridge through the Eiffel Tower through to Big Ben and the Houses of Parliament here, they're also turning off to show solidarity with this action.
WWF was hoping for the biggest ever show of support. Its campaigners want concerted international action to convince governments to take effective measures against increases in greenhouse gases, widely believed to cause climate change and rising sea levels.
This is a gesture, and we're hoping that if people at least make that gesture of flicking that switch, turning off their lights, it will make them realize that there's a lot more that we have to do to be able to arrest climate change.
As the Earth turned, more cities took part. Climate-concerned civic and governmental authorities looked to make an impact on negotiators at the UN's conference in December. This aims to draft a treaty to replace the Kyoto Climate Accord, due to expire in 2012. Jane Bennett-Powell, BBC News.
Well, we can talk now to David Nussbaum from the World Wildlife Fund. He's their chief executive, and of course this has been WWF's initiative today. Tell us about the impact of this very imaginative idea.
Well, we believe that hundreds of millions of people around the world have been participating in Earth Hour one way or another. Some of them by going and looking at some of these iconic buildings going dark, many of them by perhaps having a candlelit dinner at home or arranging something in their local club. And we've had over 1,000 schools just in the UK linked into this initiative in one way or another. So it's been a wonderful opportunity, if you will, for human solidarity to say to ourselves, to each other, but importantly to governments, that we need action on climate change if we're to avoid the potentially devastating consequences that could result in. But here's a way of showing your concern for that in a positive fashion.
Yes, because what you want is more than just this eye-catching hour in various countries around the world. You want that to lead to greater change.
That's right. We all know that climate change is quite a complex matter, and we can all play our part in switching off our lights when we don't need them on, for example. But the point of this action is to give a signal to our political leaders that we know we need them to help us, to help the world take the right decisions to combat climate change, particularly in this year. Just as we've seen landmarks going dark across the country and across the world today, this is a landmark year for climate change, with some very important negotiations culminating in December in Copenhagen, when world leaders come together to try and agree a new deal on climate change for the next few years.
But before that Copenhagen meeting, we've seen some interesting information coming out of the White House today. President Obama announcing a major meeting of the USA plus 16 other major economies in Washington next month. That's to lead to another summit in Italy in July on climate change. You must be very encouraged by that news.
Well, I think that is potentially very encouraging, and I think the demonstration today around the world through WWF's Earth Hour indicates that this is responding to public and popular concern.
How crucial is that American lead, though, given that under George Bush, of course, America didn't ratify the Kyoto Protocol? How important is that lead versus the input of, say, the developing economies?
Well, they're all important, but the US plays an absolutely critical role. It's the biggest, by far, emitter of carbon per capita, other than a couple of very small countries in the Middle East, in the world. It sets the global agenda, and so we welcome President Obama's initiative. But of course, if we're going to get a deal, it's going to need initiatives from the US, from the European Union, but also responses coming from important countries like China and Brazil and India. But they are looking to the US with its wealth and emissions to take a lead, and so we're encouraged that this accelerates the potential for a really good global deal later this year.
OK, David Nussbaum from the World Wildlife Fund, thank you very much.
Thank you.